All right, so this is an old script, but I did want to kind of get a little practice filming here and using the teleprompter. So I hope you guys enjoyed. It's still kind of relevant. It's about award shows, how much I hate them. So let's jump right into it. Power of the Dog is everything that is wrong with award shows. Spoiler alerts, if you haven't seen this movie, here's the quickest summary I can provide. A period piece that follows a super manly aggro cowboy, Cumberpatch, who's obsessed with another assumingly manly cowboy named Bronco Henry. Because let's face it, when you're obsessed with another man, Jordan fans.
6-0, 6-0, he's the greatest of all time. Do you watch basketball? Do you even know what basketball is? Oh, hang on. I gotta go give a billionaire more of my money so everybody knows how much I love him. Jordan!
To the point of delusion, you might be a little bi-curious. Bronco Henry this, Bronco Henry that. And Jesse Plemons plays Cumberpatch's brother who falls for Kirsten Dunst. They get married and she moves in with Cumberpatch and Plemons, bringing along her young effeminate son, played by Australian actor Cody Smit-mcphee, and things become uncomfortable as they all adjust to living together. Now, the movie is certainly solid, if not boring, which is not a knock on the film or the acting. It's just a seemingly accurate period piece set in 1925 Montana. How interesting could life have been back then out on a ranch? When it comes to these period piece films, the acting is typically dialed down, muted, and reserved. A few angry outbursts by the men to show how manly they are, and some crying in a corner from the women because women are emotional, I guess. It still takes talent to portray these characters convincingly, for sure, but is it award-winning? I would say no. The cinematography in this film is absolutely beautiful and certainly deserving of an Oscar nomination. Montana never looked so beautiful, mainly because the film was shot in New Zealand. Whoops. The writing is solid. I would, however, disagree that it's worth an Oscar nomination, especially considering this script is based on a book. Yes, I'm sure adapting a book to a screenplay is a difficult task, but come on. It's like baking a cake with all the instructions have been printed out for you, all the ingredients being hand-delivered. All you gotta do is not fuck it up, which plenty of screamers have done in the past. Let's not get that wrong. Now, Best Sound and Best Score nominations are certainly well earned as they are flawless. However, when's the last time you watched a movie and got distracted by bad sound or scoring? I learned that Jonathan Greenwood scored this film. He's a talented musician and composer from a little band named Radiohead. He's been scoring films since 2003. He also scored There Will Be Blood, so the guy's clearly a bona fide beast. Production design nomination, I'm not entirely sure what all that encompasses, but it sounds like it involves the actual set pieces and costumes. So again, well deserved here. The set is wonderful, very small, but beautifully made. From the barns to the buggies to the houses they lived in, you certainly feel you were in the turn of the 20th century. I'm sure everything was hand-built for this film as well. Again, the budget on this movie was somewhere around $35 million. I think you would have to try to be terrible when you're working with this kind of cash. The set is basically an arid yet stunning landscape, a big old house and a barn. How do you fuck this up? In editing nomination, again, guys, when do you notice bad editing in top-tier movies? It was perfect in this film, so I guess well earned. I think I would have to be quite the stickler to find a film that was not deserving of their nomination in any of these categories. Now, that covers 6 of the 12. 12 nominations. So let's get to the other 6 nominations now, which really boil down to 3 categories: acting, directing, and picture. Before I rail on the best picture consideration, let's start with director. Being a director, I can only imagine, since I'm not one, is incredibly difficult. Getting a team together, and this is a high-quality team, getting them all to work together and get along throughout a long shoot on location, when I'm sure they all have their own egos for being superstars in their own right, cannot be easy. Cumberpatch is a massively successful actor now. Kirsten Dunst has experience in Marvel, really being a major catalyst for bringing their films to where they are now. To go along with her extensive acting career spanning over 20 years. Jesse Plemons is, in my opinion, one of the best actors in the game today. Certainly one of the most underrated, underappreciated by general audience. Do yourself a favor and check out episode 1, season 4 of Black Mirror. He's incredible in an incredible episode. So, putting all these pieces together, I'd say it's worth a nod. But again, how many films does this apply to? To me, it's one of these categories where I wonder why they choose who they choose, because there are so many folks deserving of this recognition, and I'm not really sure what sets a film like this apart. Now, to the acting, and this will be quick. All these actors are extremely talented, but what in God's name did they do in this movie that was worth a Best Actor nod? 2 Best Supporting Actors, and 1 Best Supporting Actress. Of these 4, I would say Kirsten Dunst was the only actor who had a character that gave her something to work with as far as being expressive. Everyone is super stoic, unemotional, and distant. Yes, I understand you need to be able to convey a lot of expression with just a glance when it comes to acting, but come the fuck on. Award worthy? Nah, bruh. Which is to say, that is all perfectly fine and makes for a wonderful film, but what are we nominating them for? Don't get me wrong, I'm not saying the actors were bad. They did a great job, but this is not worthy of awards as far as performances. These were not challenging roles for these talents. Dunst's son, played by Cody Smit-McPhee, who is himself an early 20-something lanky actor, was tasked with playing an awkward 18-year-old. His character is more like the delicate paper flowers he makes and less like the aggro cowboy crew he's forced to live amongst. So an actor, whose father is also an actor and also looks like this, now has a Herculean task of playing an awkward young man who's not into the prototypical machismo shit of cowboys. Yeah, I don't fucking get it. So now to my issue with all the award shows. Let's kiss. Keep it simple, stupid. They're all meaningless bullshit that are incapable of actually weighing greatness. Do they sometimes get it right? Yeah, for sure. Do they fuck it up? Way, way, way more than they get it right. Here are 3 films that are very similar to Power of the Dog. I would say I probably enjoyed all more than Power of the Dog, as they were just more exciting and engaging. Ammonite with Kate Winslet, which is probably just as dry as Power of the Dog. Portrait of a Lady on Fire with Adele Haenel, and The World to Come with Katherine Waterston. These 3 films, which I would argue were all very similar to Power of the Dog, in that they are period pieces that address questions of sexuality in times they were less accepting, received a combination of 0. Portrait of a Lady on Fire, maybe that was considered foreign, but either way, these films are all operating on equal levels of acting, directing, and writing. So you tell me, what gives? I'm too lazy to do a deep dive into the process of who selects films for a nomination and why, but they're voted on by a body of their peers, basically. I need some actual fucking consistency to take these shows seriously. Here's a fantastic example. Someone please explain. Wes Anderson has been making the same basic movie with all the same basic cast for over 20 years. All of a sudden, in 2014, with Grand Budapest Hotel, his film gets 8 Oscar nominations, walking away with 4 wins. Now, I enjoy much of his work, but for Christ's sake, they're all so similar in so many ways. Why the fuck did Budapest Hotel get so many accolades when, say, Moonrise Kingdom didn't, I Love Dogs didn't, and Mr. Fantastic Fox didn't? Between those 3, they got 5 nominations, 2 for animation, 2 for score, and 1 for best original screenplay. Someone please help me understand this nonsensical world we live in. The only reason I can think Power of the Dog got attention was because McPhee's character is laughed at throughout the film because he's effeminate, with the underlying assumption being gay based on his stereotypical trope. Cumberbatch is always commenting on him and bullying him. The other cowboys on the farm follow his lead since he's a strong leader of men and proceed to catcall and laugh at McPhee to his face. This is what I am coining LDE. Little dick energy. The irony being these super macho cowboys are running around taking baths together in the streams and just lounging around, wrestling buck naked. Yet they think the young man of science is weird because he's thin, frail, and waits tables to help his mother's business. Yeah, guys, you keep telling me how he's the gay one, like it would even be a bad thing. So this discussion is certainly an interesting one. If you're under the 25 or mentally stunted, I suppose. Cumberbatch is obsessed with his old cowboy teacher, Bronco Henry, whom he clearly was in love with and now is clearly interested in McPhee's character. McPhee notices this and takes advantage of it, ultimately befriending Cumberbatch and killing him using the hide of a cow that apparently died from anthrax. None of this totally makes sense. McPhee skins the dead cow seemingly just as practice for surgery. He's gloved when he skins the cow. Then his mom separately decides to sell Cumberpatch's hides in a drunken compulsion to seemingly piss off Cumberpatch for his constant asshole behavior and also to try and be nice to the Native Americans passing through. While Cumberpatch is having a complete meltdown over this, McPhee offers him his anthrax-tainted hide in order to appease him as he makes McPhee a rope. But what were the odds he knew this would work when he skinned the cow? In the end, we're led to believe McPhee is some kind of a psycho who wants to become a doctor, I guess. Maybe he's like Dexter, a good serial killer. I don't know. But it feels like the ending is meant to be some great twist. Maybe in the book it's better. But in the movie it just feels flat and inconsequential. Like if McPhee never got revenge, would anything have changed? With no Cumberpatch, did Dunst's character sober up? Cumberpatch's character is finally coming around, so, who knows? Maybe he would have been easier on Dunst, but we'll never know because he trusted McPhee. Now, everything about this movie is very but the hype around it, was really mind-boggling to me. And this is the case for a lot of award-winning movies. I can't wrap my head around why the fuck you would spend $30 million on a movie that isn't going to make money in the box office. The big streamers and studios do seem to buy these films up simply to have some awards in their display cases. I'm clearly in some kind of minority judging by the ratings, but these are just some of the reasons why these award shows are such a waste of time to me. I'd much rather watch a solid trailer, read the synopsis, check out the cast, which is not always an indicator of quality, and decide from there, because these award shows are some kind of sexual human centipede meant to suck each other off. Definitely not an indicator of a movie you can just sit down and appreciate. It's no wonder these actors think we want to see them sing Imagine during a fucking pandemic, people. As if it will magically make us feel good. All that being said, these award shows are trying to correct for these issues. Don't Look Up was also nominated, and I can't imagine a film like that being nominated just 10 years ago. I'm not sure why Dune was nominated, while other big action tentpoles, Spider-Man, weren't. So it's still a bit of a mixed bag, and we will never be 100% solved because it's impossible to say who's the best with the amount of content being produced these days. This was my first episode in a new Ranty series I'm calling Talking to Myself. If you managed to make it this far, thank you, and I hope you liked it. If you did, don't forget to like and subscribe. Until the next episode, deuces.